Hey guys, welcome back to the Disney Chat. I'm your host, Alexa, and I hope you guys have been having an amazing week and amazing start to the weekend. I know that this episode is a little later than usual. Usually I post on Wednesday or Thursdays, but this week's been a little crazy, getting ready for midterms and all that. But I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. So, as I had mentioned last week, I'm going to be starting, it is spooky season, so I thought it would be a good idea to do some spooky Halloween type episodes for you guys, and that includes villains, which I already filmed with my friend Katie. I will be posting that next week, and other things like that. So I'm ranking Disney villains, talking about conspiracies, things like that. And that's actually what I'm going to be doing today, talking about conspiracy theories with you guys, Disney related, of course. And I have 11 of them. Most of them are pretty spooky. There's one at the end that is just something that I found really interesting, but most of them are pretty spooky, and I hope you guys enjoy. So bear with me a little bit, though, because it's kind of just me today. I usually, for the last couple episodes, I've had guests on it, but this is by myself. So bear with me, but I hope you guys still enjoy anyway. So let's just get into it. So as I had said, I have 11 different conspiracy theories that I'm going to talk about today. And yeah, so the first one that I found online. I found all these online, by the way. These are not my ideas. They're other people's. I found them online. But the first one I'm going to talk about is Ariel's mother being killed by Captain Hook from Peter Pan. And I thought that this was really interesting. I don't know how true I think it is, but I thought it was really interesting. So I don't know if any of you have seen The Little Mermaid 2, or not 2, I'm sorry, 3. 2 is with Ariel's daughter. The third one is Ariel's backstory with her mother and how she died and things like that. And it does turn out that Ariel's mother was killed by a pirate ship. And obviously they don't show the captain of the ship or anything like that. But they do show Ariel's mother being hit by the boat. And Ariel's mother was beautiful. She had orange hair, pinkish flowers in her hair, green tail. And I was doing research on this, and in Peter Pan, in Neverland, there is a mermaid. There's a group of mermaids, but there is one that looks exactly like Ariel's mother. And I didn't want to believe this one because it's really, really depressing and kind of disturbing, to be honest, but it's really interesting to me. And I've heard about this one. I think I heard about it a few years back, but I just thought that it's very eerie and pretty interesting that, like, it's kind of a theory that all the people that Captain Hook killed is in Neverland. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Not saying it's true, but it's a really interesting thing to think about. So the second theory that I want to discuss is that Nemo from Finding Nemo, the whole concept of the movie is about the 5 stages of grief. And I think that this one makes me the most sad out of all the ones I'm going to talk about today, because I love Finding Nemo so much, and the possibility of Marlin just kind of being in denial that Nemo died along with the rest of his family is just heartbreaking to me. But the theory says that Marlin goes through the 5 stages of grief as the movie goes on, and that Nemo just didn't exist in the first place. Well, he did, but he was killed along with his mother and the rest of his siblings in that shark attack. So denial is when Marlin refuses to believe his family is dead and then sees Nemo at the bottom of the ocean. Not the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of his home on the floor. And he sees that little red egg and he sees Nemo and, vows to protect him forever. Then there's anger, where he gets angry at Nemo whenever he does something remotely dangerous, even though he's, 6 years old at the time. And then bargaining, which is what Marlin is forced to do consistently in order to get Nemo back. Then there's depression, where he's ready to give up on Nemo and thinks that he's gone and there's nothing that he can do but to get him back. Then there's acceptance, when he gets him back and makes peace with his family's death and learns to stop obsessing over Nemo. And I think that it's a very scary thing to think about, that he just died in the beginning of the movie and Marlin's been making this up the whole time and is like imagining him like he's there, but he's really not. And I didn't want to believe this theory, but then I looked a little more into it, and apparently Nemo means nobody in Latin, and that just chilled me to my core. I was very freaked out by that when I read that. And I don't want to believe it's real, but I really hope it isn't, but it's a very eerie thing to think about. The next one is a little more cut and dry. There's not a lot going into this theory, but I honestly do think that's one of the more sensible ones. So there is a theory that Lady Tremaine from Cinderella did kill Cinderella's father, which there's not much to back up this theory, except for the fact that her father seemed perfectly healthy until he married her stepmother, and then he's just suddenly dead. It does kind of make you think a little bit, but there's not much to back it up, but it does make you think. And I actually do remember Cinderella crying over her dad's bed, deathbed, where he's just laying there completely dying and she's just sobbing, and then Lady Tremaine is just in the corner smirking. So yeah, it's a little weird if you ask me, but yeah, there's not much more to go into that, but I just thought that one should be mentioned. So the next theory I wanted to talk to you guys about is regarding Winnie the Pooh. So I actually loved Winnie the Pooh when I was younger. All the characters are just, I love them so much. Especially Tigger. Tigger has always owned my heart. But this particular theory really got me thinking. The theory says that each character from Winnie the Pooh all represent a different mental disorder. So Winnie the Pooh represents compulsive eating disorder. Piglet represents generalized anxiety. Eeyore represents major depressive disorder. Tigger represents ADHD. And Christopher Robin, who I think this is the most eerie one, is that Christopher Robin represents schizophrenia and that he's hallucinating all of his friends. Winnie, Piglet, all of that. And I think that's really a scary thing. But I thought that it was really intriguing that someone thought of this theory, just because it's a kids movie, so you wouldn't really think that the writer, I personally don't think the writer went in being like, oh, I'm going to have these characters specifically represent these things. I think he was just, playing around with different character traits and things like that. I don't think he really, whoever they were, I don't think they really meant to have these characters represent certain things. But honestly, it does make kind of sense when you think about it. I mean, Piglet is very afraid of a lot of things and he's very anxious a lot of the time. Tigger is very active and doesn't seem to, he's always moving around. He's very energetic and things like that. Eeyore is very sad all the time. And Winnie the Pooh, I'm not sure about Winnie the Pooh. I mean, I don't think that he really represents anything, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, but, or Christopher Robin, for that matter. Piglet, Eeyore, and Tigger, I can see it, but the other two, I'm not so sure. And before, I'm not trying to put any ill intent when it comes to, mental disorders. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just personally think that, I don't know if the writer actually meant to, have them represent these disorders, but it does actually make a lot of sense when you think about it. It's funny, no wonder I relate to Piglet so much. People think he represents generalized anxiety disorder. I have generalized anxiety disorder, so it's intriguing to me that people think he represents that particular disorder. But so that one's a little more complicated, but I want to include it on this list because I think that it's an interesting one. So on to the next one. I don't really believe this one either particularly, but it's that Mother Gothel and the Evil Queen are the same person. So if you're unaware of, I'm sure you're aware of the Evil Queen from Snow White, but if you're not aware of Mother Gothel, she's the the villain from Tangled who kidnapped Rapunzel and kept her in the tower for 18 years. So people think that Mother Gothel and the Evil Queen are the same person because, first of all, they look pretty similar as when they're really in their old form. They do look really similar. And also at the end of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I don't know if you guys remember, but at the end, the Evil Queen does end up falling to the bottom of a cliff as the old woman. The black cloak, the white hair, everything like that. But then somehow, at the beginning of Tangled, Mother Gothel is at the bottom of a cliff as an old lady. White hair and everything. And it could just be a coincidence, but I think that's really interesting. And I never really thought about it until I read this theory. This is one of the things I was like, wow, I didn't think about that. But it is pretty intriguing that they're the exact same person. And these movies came out 50 years apart, I think. 60 maybe 60 years apart. They're very, very big gap between the two movies. And I think that's a really interesting way to connect the two movies. I'm not so sure if it's real or not, but it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun thought, to be honest. So the next one that I have is that the king and queen in Frozen died on the way to Rapunzel's wedding. I know there's a lot of death in this video. I know it's conspiracy theories, man. There's a lot of death-related conspiracy theories out there. But this one is the king and queen in Frozen. They did end up dying on a ship going on a trip somewhere. They didn't specify where they were going, but people do believe that it was them going to Rapunzel's wedding, and they didn't make it there because the ship had sank, sorry. But it is literally confirmed by Disney that Frozen and Tangled are in the same universe, because you literally see Flynn Rider and Rapunzel showing up to Coronation Day in that one scene. You see a tiny bit of them for 2 seconds showing up, as clear as day. So we do know that they know each other. Anna, Elsa, and Rapunzel and Flynn, they do know each other. We know that. But the idea that they were going to Rapunzel's wedding, I think, is actually very probable, considering the fact that Rapunzel and Flynn are canonically in the same universe as them. Will we ever know? Obviously not, but I think it's a really cool and pretty reasonable theory. So the next one is connected to the last one, actually, where Ariel is the one that found the sunken ship of Anna and Elsa's parents. And so this is 3 different movies being connected, but there's not much to back up this theory, aside from the fact that she found a ship. I mean, you don't know whose ship that was. It could have been anybody's ship. But I just thought it was interesting, an interesting way to connect the 3 movies. But there's not much else to say on that one. So the 8th theory that I have is that this isn't about one of the Disney movies in particular. It's about Walt Disney himself. And let me know if you guys want me to do a video on the history of Walt Disney, because there's a lot about him. And I actually did a presentation about him back in junior year of high school, so I do know quite a bit about him. But there's always more to learn about him. There's a lot that goes into him. But this conspiracy theory has to do with him. And it says that a lot of characters don't have mother figures because Walt Disney never got over his mother's death and he was so guilty about it. And I did more research on this, and apparently he had bought a house for his mother in 1938. I think because he was really successful at that time because of his Disney movies, and so he bought his mother a house. But then in 1938, his mother's house had a gas leak, and she didn't make it out. So people think that he has so much guilt from that incident, and since then he holds that guilt, and that's why there's not a lot of mother figures in his movies. And that's a really, this isn't even scary. This is just really sad. But, it makes sense. I mean, after he died, there's still not a lot of mother figures in his movies. So I don't know, but it makes sense for the time being that he was alive making these movies. But yeah, a lot of sources say he'd never talked about her either, but people figured he had a lot of guilt from it. So I just thought it was one I should definitely mention. So the 9th theory that I have, Peter Pan is the angel of death. And people think that Neverland is heaven and Peter Pan takes the dead children there. This is very disturbing this one's very disturbing when I read about it. But I mean, Neverland, the idea of Neverland does kind of remind me of heaven in a way. And Peter Pan is really insistent on the idea of never growing up, so it kind of makes sense for those who, who are there, who are kids, because, in certain religions, when you go to heaven, you stay young, so I thought that was a really interesting one to talk about. And yeah, I mean, if it even connects a little bit with the with the Captain Hook theory that he killed his mother, Ariel's mother, not his mother, because if she's in heaven and that's heaven, then she's there, so it does connect with that one. So it's an interesting one, I think. Okay, so the next theory that I have, I think, is the craziest one that I've heard, but also very spooky and actually makes a lot of sense in my mind, at least. So this one is regarding Maleficent and her relationship with Queen Leah, who is Aurora's mother. So I would always watch Sleeping Beauty, and be really confused whenever Maleficent showed up, being so mad that she wasn't invited to the dinner party. I would always kind of be just like, why is she so mad? It didn't seem like she had any connection to the family. It didn't seem like she was related to any of them. I just thought it was a really weird concept. I was like, why is she so jealous and mad? Well, this theory explains a lot. And people say that Queen Leah made a deal with Maleficent to help her have Aurora. So the theory goes that, in the beginning of the movie, I actually checked on this myself because I was really interested. This is the only theory out of this list that I've never heard of until I was researching for this video. I looked at the beginning, and there's a narration at the beginning of the movie with this male narrator speaking from a storybook, and then you go into the storybook, and then it continues from there. But in the beginning, he says that Queen Leah and her husband struggle to have a kid that they've yearned for years. And then suddenly it just happens. She has Aurora. She gets pregnant, she has Aurora. So that got this person thinking, how did that happen? Was it just a happy ending for them? Did it just happen naturally, or did Maleficent have something to do with it? So whoever came up with this theory thinks that Queen Leah went to Maleficent and asked her to use magic to help her have a child. And honestly, I think this one makes a lot of sense. And the theory continues by Maleficent saying, okay, I will help you and use my magic. But after the child's born, you must invite me to her, her party with the kingdom. You have to invite me and you have to acknowledge me because I helped you. And this person thinks that Queen Leah agreed, but then she didn't end up inviting her, which is why Maleficent got so mad and ended up cursing her child. I think this one is, first of all, like I said, I've never heard this one until researching, and I thought this was so, mind-blowing to me because it all made sense. I was like, I've never thought about it that way. I've never thought that this would be the reason why Maleficent was so angry. It's kind of like, I almost thought that she was related to Queen Leah in some way, or related to the king in some way. I had no clue what to think about it, but then I heard this theory, and I was like, damn, that makes sense. But it's like, I was kind of thinking, why would she curse the child? She didn't have anything to do with it. Well, she did. She didn't make she didn't make the deal with Maleficent. Her mother did, but basically thinking that, I helped use magic to bring this child into the world, and you didn't honor my side of the deal, where I said you have to acknowledge me, and so I'm going to take away the thing that I helped you get, So I thought that it was a very interesting theory that I've never heard of, and I just thought we should definitely talk about it because I want to hear what you guys think about it. But yeah, that's definitely the most interesting one in my opinion. So those are the 10 spooky-ish theories that I want to talk about. This one is just a bonus. This one's not spooky. It's just, I think it's really, really cool. There is a theory that Jane from Tarzan is a descendant of Belle, specifically Belle's granddaughter. And I think that this one is actually really cool. I don't know if there's that much to back it up, but there's a few things that I'll talk about. There's, her appearance. She has brown hair, wears a yellow dress all the time, and yes, different eye color, but, when you're a grandmother, when it's your granddaughter, she can have different eye color from you. Both their fathers are inventors. What was the other one? The other one was that at the campsite that Jane and her father and Clayton were staying at in the jungle, they had a tea set that looked exactly like Mrs. Potts and Chip. So I thought that one was really interesting. I don't know if it was a family heirloom that she was given from her grandmother. I don't know, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Plus, her father and Maurice, Belle's father, look very similar in a lot of ways. I mean, they look like your typical older father, but like they look similar. So I thought that was interesting. And also, people think that they could be related, Belle and Jane, because they both fall in love with, like, you know, they both fall in love with, like, beasts or whatever, you know. Jane falling in love with Tarzan, and then Belle falling in love with the beast, you know what I mean? So there are a lot of similarities there, and this one I actually do like to think is real, because I don't know, like the Easter egg, I know that Disney loves their Easter eggs and putting in like little things to show that, you know, this whole universe is connected or whatever, but I think it's really cool that Jane has the tea set that has Mrs. Potts and Chip. I thought that was really, really cool and kind of cute. And, you know, like, it's like an heirloom from her grandmother. I think that's very, very possible, and I think it's really cool. So I know that one wasn't, you know, a spooky type one, but I thought it was really interesting, and I thought it was, you know, a good way to end this episode. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I had fun talking about this. I love conspiracy theories. I love talking about conspiracy theories with my friends and things like that. I couldn't, unfortunately, get anybody to do this episode with me. I tried to get my brother, but he would just make fun of me because he doesn't really believe in conspiracy theories. And I sometimes do, sometimes don't, but they're fun to think about, you know? So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys think about these conspiracy theories, and if you guys have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. I'm going to do a haunted side / creepy side of Disney World for next week's video. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday and a great rest of your weekend. Take care, guys.